Licorice pizza, a term for vinyl 12-inch long playing or LP record, named because it is black and about the same size as a pizza.
And welcome to another edition of Licorice Pizza. I could just taste these great songs right now. Can you? And you're wondering, what band are you going to talk about? Well, first of all, like, comment, and subscribe. Okay, first of all, and the great T-shirts for sale, Licorice Pizza. They come in different colors. I've seen many of them. They look amazing. Different sizes: small, medium, large. 1X, 2X, 3X, and onward. So great T-shirts. We are going to talk about today one of my favorite groups. I have many favorite groups, but this one is band Deep Purple. Been around a long time, still playing live today. Deep Purple. Wow, what can you say? Okay, let's first of all, we start the program out. The first song I ever heard by Deep Purple was a song called Hush. Yeah, Hush. 1968. Great keyboard, Hammond keyboard in there. John Lord was in the band. God bless his soul. He's an amazing keyboardist. And he played that Hammond organ in that song. Some great stuff. And that became a fairly decent hit over here in America and I believe in England as well. That's where they're from, by the way. Yeah. And Shades of Deep Purple, 1968. Now, back at that time, a guy by the name of Rod Evans was the lead vocalist of that band. A lot of people don't realize that Rod Evans was the lead vocalist. And also Nick Simper, bass player for Deep Purple. He was the bass player. Okay, now we'll go on. They released a second album. It just kind of laid there, and also in '68, and then a self-entitled album called Deep Purple. Again, 1969, the following year, they released that. Now that also had Rod Evans and Nick Simper in the band, played bass. Rod Evans, of course, the lead singer. In that band. Now, where it really changed for Deep Purple, this is such an important album for them. I used to have this album. I don't know if I still do. It's like Mount Rushmore, and it's called Deep Purple in Rock. And I think that's when Deep Purple found themselves. Now we got it. Now we got the different lineup, a little bit different lineup. Ian Gillan, the lead singer now, and also Roger Glover is the bass player now. And they have those two guys joined, and that's when Deep Purple really found their sound. They found themselves. That was their sound. Deep Purple in rock. Then that's 1970. Now 1971, Fireball came out. What a tremendous album. Strange Kind of Woman is off that album. Just a couple cuts. Also Fireball, of course. And I believe the song The Mule is off the album Fireball. 1971. Man, what a great album to follow up Deep Purple and rock. Yeah, Fireball. And then here, this changed it to a much wider audience, this next album. And Smoke on the Water is off this album, Machine Head. I had bought it in 1972, and it's got that kind of distorted pictures of all the members of Deep Purple on the cover of that album. And thinking, yeah, I know who Deep Purple is. Well, I'll try it. And I bought it and took it home. And, guess what? Yeah, fell in love with that album. Highway Star, Space Truckin', Smoke on the Water, the song Lazy, Maybe I'm a Leo's off that one. Smoke on the Water is all about when they were in Switzerland. Frank Zappa's doing a concert, and during the concert, somebody shot something up on the ceiling, and the ceiling caught on fire. in that. It was a casino in Switzerland. So, and Deep Purple wanted to record the album Machine Head in the casino in different locations. Well, they didn't get to. So they said, well, why don't we just write a song about this horrible event that happened? And it was horrible, but the song they wrote about is Smoke on the Water, by far their biggest song. All these guitar players learning that riff when they were young kids, and that song just went ballistic. And they recorded that in the Rolling Stones mobile unit, the band, the Rolling Stones. It's just a little trailer, and they had to fit the equipment in there. A lot of that album was recorded there and a few other locations in that area. They just wanted to create an album with a different sound, different vibe to it. But, and if you open up the album, Machine Head, they have pictures of the fire, they have pictures of their, cramped up studios. Man, those guys had to record in like just small spaces. I don't know how they did it, but the pictures are, you open that album up, tons of pictures. But Machine Head, man, I listened to that album, Smoke on the Water, Highway Star, all that great stuff. Couldn't get enough of that album. 1972 it was. And then they come out, Who Do We Think We Are? 1973. Ian Gillan, still the lead singer in the band. Richie Blackmore, of course. Ian Pace is a great drummer for Deep Purple and is still with them even today. John Lord was there again, and Roger Glover's in the band, and just Burn, and Who Do You with that album, obviously, from 73, and that's a tremendous album. What's on that album? Woman from Tokyo, one of their most famous songs off that album, and the whole album, just so many great songs off that. Wasn't one of their biggest albums, nothing like Machine Head, but the following album is coming up, and I'm going to tell you more about that. But first, we got a new program here on Licorice Pizza called No Skips, a great feature that's on Licorice Pizza. And this gentleman, Elijah Winfrey, is going to tell you more about it.
We are back with No Skips, the show inside the show where we talk about albums that you don't skip any songs on. And today we're going to throw in an album by a Florida band, Orlando area band, Anberlin. Now, this is a band that I really, really enjoy, but I have to tell you about the first time I saw this band live because it's something else, okay? So my dad and I were at a festival called Cornerstone, Florida. There's two different Cornerstones. There's one in Illinois. There was one in Florida. Unfortunately, neither exist anymore, but they were a gathering of a bunch of the latest, greatest Christian rock bands, faith-based bands, that sort of deal. And my dad and I happened to go over to a side stage that they were having going on. And we noticed that people were waiting for this band called Anberlin. And Anberlin was late. They weren't there. And people were starting to think maybe they're not going to show up. But people in the area were excited because they're from Orlando. The festival was in Orlando. This is that hometown team, right? And so everybody's waiting on these guys to show up. All of a sudden, lights go down, band comes out, full tuxedos. Turns out they had gone to a wedding earlier that day, and they hit Orlando traffic, which is why they were not able to be there on time. But they came out, they played a killer show, and a lot of the songs that they played that night were off this album right here, Never Take Friendship Personal, which, I mean, that's really a good, slogan for life in general, unfortunately. But this album came out in 2005 from Tooth and Nail Records. And I'm just going to go down the track listing here. Again, no skippable songs on this record. Never Take Friendship Personal. You come right out the gate with a nice rock song. You got Paper Thin Hymn, which is a good one. Stationary, Stationary. The Symphony of a Blaze, which is a little bit of a slower tune. A Day Late, which is a really fun tune. The Runaways. You have Time and Confusion, which is my favorite song because when they play that, they really get the crowd into it. You also have the Feel Good Drag, which is such a hit for them that they've actually included that song in albums throughout their, their discography. They keep including that song because people like it that much. So that's kind of cool. Audrey, Start the Revolution, A Heavy-Hearted Work of Staggering Genius, and Dance Dance, Krista Pathagan, which I hope I said that right. But it's 11 songs. It is a rock album. I would say it's a little bit of an in-between like U2 and some more heavier stuff. I can't think of a band off the top of my head, but kind of between U2 and some more heavier stuff if you listen to this. And if you're a fan of the movie Point Break at all, the lead singer, at least when he was playing back in 2005, kind of look a little bit like Patrick Swayze. So, but with all that being said, again, the album, Never Take Friendship Personal, the artist, Amber Lynn. Check it out. Let me know if you skipped any songs in the comments below. Right now, though, I believe Donnie Despaw is done with his break. It's Licorice Pizza.
And we are back. Now we're going to talk about another change with Deep Purple. So many changes, folks. When you're talking about this band, it would take hours and hours on, the people leaving, coming back, leaving, coming back. Well, on the next album, Burn, and this guy's great lead singer, David Coverdale. Probably heard him. He's played with other bands. And Glenn Hughes are in on it with this album. And I'm thinking when the album came out, Ian Gillan is not with the band anymore. Oh my God, what's going to happen here? Well, Glenn Hughes and David Coverdale did a great job, on this. That whole album's great. I love this record. Burn, 1974. And then comes Stormbringer, 1974. And Deep Purple keeps coming out with album after album. Come Taste the Band, 1975, David Coverdale. Tommy Bolin, lead guitar this time on that album. Guess who's out? Richie Blackmore, who was on, of course, Machine Head, Burn, Fireball, all the Deep Purple albums. Pretty much right from the beginning. It is the great Richie Blackmore, amazing guitar player. But that's a change there. David Coverdale, Tommy Bolin, lead guitar, and Glenn Hughes again on bass. So Roger Glover left, Glenn joins. Okay, then they take a little time off from 1976 to 1984. They disbanded. There's no Deep Purple. As far as I know, there's no Deep Purple from that time period. Then they decided back in 1984 to get back together again with that lineup. Richie Blackmore, Ian Pace, John Lord, Roger Glover, Richie Blackmore. They're all together again. Perfect Strangers, great album. That really went huge. 1984. Remember that one? And they had a tour to support the album. That went great, a world tour. I'll probably stop there because they had so many releases after Perfect Stranger. But one note, I will mention this: the great guitar player Steve Morse. You talk about a player to replace anybody on lead guitar. Hello, yeah, Steve Morse, a technician on guitar. He joined Deep Purple in '96 and just left a couple years, maybe about a year ago. He quit the band. He was with them for years, but a great live band, Deep Purple. And like I said, and if you want to pick up a DVD of a great Deep Purple concert, there's one from, I think, 2004, live in Melbourne, Australia, which is kind of the music capital of Australia. And it is just amazing. There's bonus footage on that DVD. I know this is Licorice Pizza about vinyl, but I do have to mention that. Man, what a great show that was. They were rocking that night in Melbourne, Australia, let me tell you. So we'll get to the best slice of my best favorite album. Okay, oh boy. I kept going back and forth here, folks. I really did. I kept going back from like 4 albums of Deep Purple. Machine Head, also Deep Purple and Rock, Fireball, and Burn. Which one do I pick? You're probably saying, no, Donnie, don't let it. Machine Head. I gotta go with that one. That album's that's still my favorite album by Deep Purple, but the line is very close between that album and the others. But yeah, and my least favorite Deep Purple album, I hate to say this, but The Battle Rages On did nothing. Not much for me. When I listened to it, so I give it another try. I'll listen to it again. And if it by the 3rd or 4th time, if it doesn't connect with me, it probably is not going to. And that's it. That's it. But that's a rundown in Deep Purple. What a great band. If you're not real familiar with them, again, listen to some of their albums. If you haven't heard some of their albums, maybe you've listened to Machine Head and something else you haven't. Well, just give it a listen to. That's it's like new music being brought to you, really. So that is that. And that is our Deep Purple episode. And don't forget to leave a comment. If there's something I left out or you can add to it by commenting, by all means do so. And subscribe. And that is another episode of Licorice Pizza. Peace out.